strode to the French windows and threw them open. Facing him was a youngish man in some kind of guerrilla uniform, who was holding an enormous pistol trained straight at Sir Reginald's head. It was many years since Sir Reginald had been a soldier, but the old reflexes still worked. He flung himself upon the man, dragging down the gun arm. He hung on desperately as the guerrilla thrust him back into the room. The two men reeled about, sending the lamp crashing from the desk. They tripped and fell over a chair, smashing it beneath them. Sir Reginald hung onto his attacker's gun arm with both hands, desperately trying to get control of the weapon. There could be only one end to the unequal struggle. Sir Reginald was well into his 60s, the guerrilla young and strong. Pinning the old man beneath him, he slowly brought his gun round to aim at his victim's head. Despite all his efforts, Sir Reginald saw the muzzle of the gun pointing straight at him. He could see and feel everything with a strange clarity, as if it were happening in slow motion. The circle of the gun barrel looked enormous. Above it, he could see the guerrilla's face, twisted with savage hatred. He could even see the man's knuckles begin to whiten as his finger tightened on the trigger. He wrenched at the guerrilla's sinewy wrist with both hands, but it was as firm as a rock. His hands were slipping. Then, incredibly, they were empty. The guerrilla's wrist seemed to melt away. The whole figure of his opponent shimmered, then vanished. As the study door was flung open, Sir Reginald found himself flat on his back, wrestling with thin air. A unit corporal helped Sir Reginald to his feet. He was trembling with reaction and shock. Miss Paget, his secretary, went to him. She said, "Sir Reginald, what happened? Are you all right?" Sir Reginald looked at her wildly. "Attacked me. He attacked me. Tried to kill me." One of the patrolling sentries stood outside the French windows. The corporal rapped. "See anyone?" The sentry shook his head. "Came running when I heard the noise, Corp. No one came through there." The corporal turned back to Sir Reginald. "Who attacked you, sir? Who did you see?" Sir Reginald said slowly, "He vanished, disappeared into thin air, like a ghost." Brigadier Alistair Lethbridge-Stewart swung his highly polished boots onto the top of the desk, tucked the telephone receiver under his chin, and waited for the minister to stop yammering in his ear. The Brigadier glanced at the headlines of the front page of the Times. "Near East Crisis. War looms." If it happened, he'd apply to be posted back to his regiment. It'd be nice to wear the kilt again. The Brigadier realized that the voice in his ear had stopped. He said, "Ah, quite, sir, quite." The yammering started up again. The Brigadier sighed, interrupting politely but firmly. "I have the reports in front of me now, sir. The sentry outside the house heard the sounds of struggle and ran towards the French windows. The sentry inside the house also heard the noise and ran through the study door. Except for Sir Reginald himself, the study was empty." There was a further outburst on the other end of the phone. The Brigadier replied, "No, sir. I was not proposing to ignore the matter." Since he had in fact been proposing to do exactly that, he had to pause and rack his brains for a moment before going on. Then inspiration came. "As a matter of fact, sir," said the Brigadier, lying magnificently, "I was about to pass the matter over to one of my top men." The Brigadier allowed a hint of reproach to creep into his voice. "I was just on my way to brief him when you called." Inside the laboratory of the scientific advisor to UNIT, everything was still. Mysterious tangles of elaborate equipment straggled over the benches. The solid blue shape of an old police box stood incongruously in one corner. Suddenly the police box began to give out the most agonizing groaning sound. It vibrated, shaking the whole laboratory and rattling the retorts and test tubes. The groaning reached a peak. There was a loud bang. The door of the police box burst open, and a tall, lean man shot out of the police box in a cloud of smoke. He slammed the door behind him, cursing fluently in a